Hello? These are working. Yep. Hello?
Have any of y'all came to one of these before here? The last time I was at one, I kind of broke the microphone stand. So I can't give it up.
Are you going I want to pre-apologize. The previous 5 years or whatever that I've been doing panels here for the 501st, they've had a visual thing that I can hook my computer up to and show you guys beautiful pictures. And today, unfortunately, I learned that we don't have those. So my beautiful PowerPoint, because I'm one of those people that likes to do PowerPoints, research, all that stuff. My beautiful PowerPoint will not be able to be seen by you individuals. However, later on, if you want to come by, I can show you beautiful pictures that we're going to talk about.
So you can see our beautiful faces.
At least theirs. So, I'm sure everyone here knows of our costume groups. So we'll do a quick little introduction. My name is Jeremy Avey. I am the XO of the Alabama Garrison of the 501st Legion. XO is basically a fancy name for vice president and everything. I am also a member of the Rebel Legion, as you are allowed to have costumes in both groups and wear one at a time. You can't wear both of them at the same time, that would be silly. But you can wear, you can be in all of the Star Wars groups, it doesn't matter. You can't just, it's not just you pick one side and you're stuck with it. You make the costume, get a group, you're in whatever group that costume belongs to. And my cohorts of trouble are.
My name is William Tranum. I am the Roost Award for the Alabama chapter of the Mandalorian Mercs, also known as Heart of Our Clan. I would be third in charge, I think. Basically, I'm the one that's responsible for costume accuracy and approval. I'm the one that gets to help everybody build their stuff and get them in new play.
And I'm Jenny Riddle. I'm the base membership officer for the Rebel Legion. I can't always exactly help you with your costume, but I can point you to resources and encourage you when you want to burn it all down because you have reached the end of your rope. But I will help you get connected to resources and help you get your stuff together to know what you need to do to make a costume or buy your costume or whatever.
So just in case anyone's not clear of what the exact differences between the groups are, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 501st. We're basically the bad guys. We're the guys that you see in the Empire. You see us in the First Order. Those guys that we don't end up winning, unfortunately. But we're the bad guys. So any costume that's relegated to those individuals falls under that. We were the first club. We were formed in 1997. Our costumes consist of individuals like clone troopers, which are also in the Rebel Legion, depending on when your clone trooper took place. We have our standard stormtroopers, our First Order air soldiers. Basically, the 501st is made up of those people you see in canon or in the expanded universe. We still have those grandfathered in. Those ones that you see on screen, those are the 501st, the bad guys from there. Next.
The Rebel Legion are the good guys. We call the good guys, so we are the ones that win eventually. But we feature Rebel and Resistance costumes, and as well there's some neutral characters like Jawas, and then the Sand People, the Tuscans. They kind of fall on both. The clones are also one of those. They can be dually approved, so they're both clubs at the same time. But so some of those neutral characters also fall into the Rebel Legion. A lot of times, the faces that you would see, the stormtroopers, stuff. A lot of the 501st costumes are helmeted. You can't see them. A lot of the Rebel Legion you're usually able to see us a little bit more unless you're like a clone or a Jawa or Sand Person. And we're also what I say as evidence today, we're also some of the more comfortable costumes, and we're all dressed in rebels today. So you can see it. We can sit down. We can eat, we can talk, and not have sweat pouring out of our helmets. And so anyway, so that's us. And our costume approval takes place a little bit differently from theirs. Theirs is more local, but the Rebel Legion has Legion-wide judges that are specific to a detachment or group. Like there would be a group of Leia judges, a group of Jedi judges, a group that's for like X-wing pilots and stuff. So approval takes place there. So a little bit different, but they're very specific for that detachment, and they will know those customs inside and out.
Mandalorian mercs. We're the bounty guys, warriors, Mandalorians, you know. Basically the helmets you guys have seen, you know, the Mandalorian and all that. We're the ones that do those. We originated in the Star Wars Galaxy MMORPG.
I remember that. I played.
Actually,
There we go. Some people play it good.
we allow for really highly customized armor for each person. We don't have to do just screen accurate. We do have screen accurate CRLs, so Boba Fett, Jango, Din, Heavy, all of that. We do all have to meet the same CRL requirements, which is the materials and quality. You know, ours is actually nationwide acceptance. We all build locally, but there is a team that's nationwide that does the actual, go through and be like, okay, you missed this, or you need to fix that. It's also international, but most of the judges for the United States are in the United States.
Now, all of the clubs are worldwide. You're going to find, if we're talking 501st, you're going to find garrisons in all the states, all kinds of different nations. You'll find bases for the rebels in all these different areas, and you'll find the clans in all the different areas. And we do work together. I started off as a member of the Southern California garrison. When I moved to Alabama, I basically just let my old garrison know, hey, I'm moving. I let Alabama know, hey, I'm moving. The two commands talked with them, and they were like, sure, we're just transferring your membership. It's not like I had to go through the costume process again. And also, we talk to each other. I'm kind of up here in Huntsville, and people will have contacted me before from wherever they're coming in. They're like, hey, I'm going to be at Redstone. I'm kind of stuck there for 2 months for this training or that training. You guys got any troops going on? I'm in this garrison in Florida or Washington or wherever. It's like I brought my stormtrooper just in case you guys have an event coming on, and I've had people contact me before like that. And I'm like, sure, we've got these three. Like, how far do you want to drive? We've got this in Birmingham. We've got this one coming up over there, and this area over here. Just let me know, and I can get you in contact. We're all talking. We're all one team when we do these things, and also I think we play a pretty good ball. And here in Alabama, the Alabama Rebels and the 501st, we kind of share a webpage, and then we have Michael Stallings, who's very good at communicating that, hey, the 501st found out about this event. Here's information for the mercs and everything, because I don't have an account there, and I don't want to double my work and posting and keeping track of both things going on there. The main thing I wanted to focus on for this talk here is the events we do. A lot of people talk to us about the costumes and things like that. I try to change things up and give people some different information. So this one's going to kind of focus on what kind of events do we do? How do you get us at events? Why is it awesome to join us? Because then you get to do some of these events too. So the first thing, I forgot these guys. The other group we have present in the Alabama area is the droid builders. So whenever you see an R2 rolling around, or you see a Roger over, like we have by our table, those are all droid builders. And Wayne stepped out of those. So I guess you're building droid builders, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got them. My chopper's sitting out there by the table. I guess I am a member of the droid builders. I haven't done a whole lot with them, but they are the ones that do the different droids, DOS droids, R2s, BB-8s. They can be 3D printed, wood, metal, There's lots of different ways to build a droid. They could be mobile, they can be just static like mine. Some of the other ones are like IG-88. The 2-1B medicals, yeah. I haven't seen one of those in a while.
I have seen only one in my life. Along with IG-88, I've only seen one.
Yeah, and then the Imperial Probe droids.
So any droid that you see in Star Wars, and now thanks to all the shows going on right now,
Dio.
the droid builders, I kind of follow them and pay attention to some things. And one of my good friends, a couple of my good friends are droid builders, so I see different things. Like with all these shows coming out, there's all these new droids, and people are racing to make the files because 3D printing is a game changer now with droids and everything. So I like those really, really smart people. That's what Huntsville. There's so many smart people here, like rocket scientists everywhere you go. They figure out how to make these drive systems for all these droids that I don't understand what they're talking about, but they make droids and they move around and they make noises and lights and stuff, and I find it awesome. So these are the groups that we have represented in Alabama. There are a couple other costume groups that do exist. The Dark Empire. That is if you want to do a Sith character that isn't on screen or isn't in any of the books or comics. So Dark Empire kind of lets you create your own Sith. They have their kind of rules. Like the Mercs, it's kind of like there's a sandbox that you kind of have to stay in. But you can kind of do a little bit more than just make an Emperor, Palpatine, or Vader exact costume. There's also the lightsaber guild. I know a lot less about them. My understanding of them is they do lightsaber fights, shows, things like that, and I don't really know too much more additionally to that, so I don't know unless you guys want to explain that.
I've heard of them, and I have not met anybody who did it. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, it sounds cool. They're mostly kind of generic Jedi. Like, I'm wearing a generic Jedi from in the Rebel Legion today, but they kind of have their own little set of rules about their Jedi, but they're pretty similar. But they're mostly generic Jedi that fight on stage. So that means they have to get more expensive sabers so they can beat them.
You have to take a.
They're actually not. The combat sabers, the blade's pretty much the biggest choice.
So to kind of give you an idea of what we actually do, our goal is to bring Star Wars to life. We want to be live action Star Wars at an event. So when people come up to this Star Wars night or when they do this charity event, we want people to be like, that's Star Wars. They may not know that the difference between all of our characters, but they know we're Star Wars. But our goals are to bring, to help out these charities. Yesterday, we did a great Last Trooper event. We raised over $300. Thank you for anyone that shot me and gave us money for shooting me. That was awesome. A lot of good headshots in this area, too. Yeah. So thank you for that. But we raised over $300, and that's kind of what we want to do. We want to do these charity events. We also want to do things where we can go out and visit charity events, things like that. Anything that's community or charity related, we can easily do. If it's a business thing, then you're going to have to deal with LFL Disney, Lucasfilm, it's LFL. You're going to have to deal with them. So if you're like, hey, I want you guys to come out for my grand opening of my comic book store, we can't just do that. We're going to need special permission because Disney doesn't want us to be your free advertisement, and I can understand that. So I first kind of want to start off with some amazing things that the different groups have done. The first thing that kind of put the 501st really on the map, at least in my idea, was in 2007. An individual named George Lucas was named the Grand Marshal of the Rose Bowl Parade. You might have heard of one of those events or that individual. And he's kind of famous for this movie called Star Wars. And he said, well, if I'm going to be the Grand Marshal, and if everyone's seen the Rose Bowl Parade, right, before, you guys know what that is. It's a really fancy thing. So he was like, I want less stormtroopers. I want stormtroopers, and I want hundreds of them. I think he had about 200 total. So he tapped into the 501st. He got worldwide. He tapped into worldwide to the 501st and said, hey, I want some stormtroopers at this event. People were selected from different organizations all across the world. They were allowed to carry the flag of their nation and have their garrison on their stormtrooper shoulder there, so that you can point each other out. Otherwise, you're like, I'm the 5th stormtrooper, the 3rd column. What's this? So he allowed that to happen. But also the Rebel Legion was involved. You know about that? Not too much. Unfortunately, you can't have 20 layers, Archie.
No.
So we try to have base characters, only one at an event. You don't want to have like 5 Darth Vaders and 3 Lukes.
It kind of loses the magic a little bit. There's like 10 of them.
But the Rebel Legion got to ride some really sweet, and I got a picture of a really sweet float. I'm sorry I can't share it with you guys, but some beautiful floats were made. Some awesome events like that, and all of these individuals in Star Wars was brought to life. We're Roseville Parade, just what George Lucas wanted, and that's kind of an amazing thing that some of our members had a chance to do.
I don't talk very loud anyway, so I feel like I'm having to bend over, and sorry guys. So one of the things that the Rebel Legion did during COVID, because pretty much everything shut down, and getting out and involved in communities, cons weren't happening, people weren't getting in groups anymore, right? Because we were all stuck in our houses. So one of the things the Rebel Legion did during that time, they started something called RebelCon. So it's like a 24-hour streaming event where they invited Star Wars celebrities, authors, and then even members to make their own videos, and they programmed this out for 24 hours because we are worldwide, and so they would have it, in other countries. We may be asleep and it may be going on, wild in the other part in Asia. So they went 24 hours streaming to raise money for UNICEF, and so that first year, I think it was a little over 13,000, but last year they did it again. Oh, it was over 15,000 in 2020, and then last year in 2021 they did it again, and raised over $16,500 for the UNICEF COVID relief. And so that's just one of the big things. We are very charity focused and charity oriented, and those are kind of the things that we want to do. Some of the features, like they had Ashley Eckstein, who's the voice of Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. She was involved in that. She did like an interview, and she's an honorary member of the RebelCon. And then like Paul Lee, he's the X-Wing pilot in the Mandalorian.
You made the traffic cop one that tried to pull him over for being too quick in space.
Yes. Yeah, he was in Boba Fett too. Okay, so he's actually he's a real member of the 501st and the Rebel Legion, and so he's a member. Like, it's really cool. But he got to play an X-Wing pilot, and he actually has helped build those costumes before, and actually helped with the costume designers being like, hey, that's not how you put that on, it's this way, so he got to help him, so it's fun. So he was one of the people that were involved doing some interviews and things during RebelCon, but it was the Rebel Legion members team. It was led by and programmed by them just all the way through. So that was something that really cool that happened even during COVID, where we couldn't go anywhere and do much. They just stepped up and said, "Hey, we're still gonna do what we do," and so I thought that was really cool.
I was able to find a picture, but I wasn't. That's too much detail. I'm sorry that no one can see the picture I find.
The merch is not as old as some of the other clubs. We do a lot of charity stuff. We have been invited to do red carpets at movies, and when they were doing The Mandalorian and all that, we were invited to the red carpet for that. Locally, one of the big things we do is we do what we call Jello Day. We didn't do it this year just because of everything that's been going on. Normally what we do is we team up with either whatever charity the con is doing, or we have our own charity. But what we'll do is we'll set up a jail cell. And then for a donation, we will go out and hunt down some of your friends, family, whoever you want.
Costume character.
Yeah, we'll go take them, we'll arrest them, bring them back and put them in the jail cell. And that's mainly what we do to help, especially locally raise.
And sometimes your own members will go behind your back and get you put in jail.
I've been thrown in there plenty of times. A couple of years ago, we were down at Magic City Con, and I don't know who put the bounty out, but we had a bounty put out on Peter Mayhew's daughter. So we went and arrested her and put her in a jail cell, and she called her dad. Like, she straight up from the jail cell called her dad and was like, "Hey, Dad, the Mercs done threw me in jail. Can you help do something about it?" At which point, he put out the call to have all of us thrown in jail.
There's a picture of her in jail, sorry.
And if you're not sure who Peter Mayhew is, that's the original Chewbacca.
Yeah. So, Chewbacca basically put out a hit on all of the Mercs at the con because we threw his daughter in jail.
His tweet directly read, basically, the Mercs had taken my daughter. Are there any rebels in the area that can get her out? So they got a tweet directly from Peter Mayhew about this situation. I don't know how it was resolved. I wasn't there at that time. I'm sure it was though, because it sounds awesome.
It ended up, she got out and all of us were in the jail cell. Well, we had one member that betrayed us all. They were like, he's like, "Hey, we need to get a picture." I got over there and he just shoved us all the jail cell. And then just walked in with us. And we just like, shut the door on us. It is a lot of fun. And I'm glad you found that. I could not find that.
It took me a while.
Oh, okay, that's very good. Okay.
All right, so the last thing I want to talk about for a major event, just kind of brag for the 501st a little bit more. There was this show called The Mandalorian. Some of you guys might have seen it. I didn't know about this, even though it involved my old garrison, because they had to stay quiet about this. I didn't learn about this until Celebration when it was announced. I was at Celebration. I think I had just talked to one of my old members too from the South Garrison, and I still didn't know. But they basically announced that a bunch of 501st members were in the show of The Mandalorian. And then they post a picture of all of them with their buckets off right here with the crew from The Mandalorian. And because basically they needed a bunch of standard stormtroopers, and they were like, "Hey, we'd like to have you guys on the show," and really twisted their arms hard, I bet. And it was probably the toughest sale this has ever made. But all those people now can say my stormtrooper costume is canon because it's on screen right there. So those are some of the most amazing, in my mind, like things like that we accomplished as groups. They've been worldwide tasks and they've been local tasks, but they've been some awesome things that hopefully we can get you guys signed up and to do some of those type of events. Next, we're going to kind of switch to local things we do. When you look at community events, these are the things that aren't quite pure charity, but they're to build up our relationships with the community, to make things awesome in Huntsville, Birmingham, wherever you are. This can include things like the professional sporting events. Has anyone seen us at the Hot Havoc games? I think I can tell everyone May the 4th is Star Wars night for Trash Pandas. They only let us know a couple days ago, so hopefully I'm able to get enough crew members to have a decent turnout there and everything. But when you see us out at these events, we're doing community work. We've done things with the Space and Rocket Center. You know, we kind of look spacey and everything like that, so it's really fun. It's amazing at the Space and Rocket Center because there'll be times where there are people from different nations that are just kind of visiting the Space and Rocket Center. There'll be a tour group. I remember one time there was one from Australia, and one of them asked me, "Is this what you guys do every week here?" I was like, "Yes, exactly." Let them think that. We do conventions. You know, right here, we're here because this is a community event, because basically we're a part of this community, and we want this community to be awesome, and we like helping out however we can in the future. Want to talk about some of our charity events?
Yeah, so sometimes we raise funds directly for charities, like we did yesterday with Blaster Trooper. We're actually actively asking people for donations, and then Jeremy will take that money over to Kids to Love himself and deliver it to them. But sometimes we're also, we did the Over the Edge event with Kids to Love a couple of years ago. I got to rappel down the Regions building in my red costume. It was really awesome. But we're not directly fundraising for them. They were fundraising, and we're just being a part of their event. So that's another way we get involved with charities. And then some, like Children's of Alabama is also, it's a charity hospital, it's a nonprofit hospital. Before COVID, we were able to visit there several times a year, and they would bring patients down, and we would just get them, interact with them, let them have a break from all that's going on in their life at that time, help their parents see their kids smile, possibly for the first time in a few days or a few weeks. That's super cool. We've only been there, I think, maybe 6 months apart. We don't go as regularly. Some garrisons and bases in other parts, depending on the hospital where you're at, they have different rules about visiting and where you can go and how often you come. But so sometimes ours is spread out over some months. But there was one boy that was there. Most of the time, the kids aren't the same. They'll come in. They'll be released at some point. But there was one boy, and we got to. He was there for one time. We knew we were coming. They contacted us ahead of time, and we got some stickers and patches and some really cool things to be able to give him because he was a huge Star Wars fan. And so we were able to do kind of. He came in earlier than any of the other kids. We got to have like a special kind of almost like a little ceremony, but not really. But we got to present him with those things. And he was still in the hospital many months later when we came back. I don't think that he was one of those patients that was ever going to leave the hospital. But being able to see him and do those kinds of things for those kids while they're there, it really made a huge, he loved it. I mean, it was just a super special time for him. So sometimes our charity events or things like that, 501st also has a big, they have like Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they have an endowment. And so sometimes we'll get invited to do things to help reveal a wish for a kid, things like that. It's just really cool to be able to be a part of kind of life-changing events and bringing a little bit of magic in a world that needs it.
So basically we do the same stuff they do. We have had people down in Birmingham more than anything else do the hospital visits, stuff like that. I personally haven't been able to get down there, but I'd love to, but with work and everything else, I haven't ever got.
And these are really charity events. Yeah, we've done things like Blood Squad, bringing up Down syndrome, where we basically spend a day and we just kind of entertain, take pictures, and help them out, make that day an awesome day. And I remember when we used to do that yearly before the dark times of COVID. I can remember one kid remembering who I was, even though I had changed costumes. It wasn't the same one as the last time. And everything. And so one thing you kind of learn is that these kids, they recognize you and they're really appreciating what you do and everything. And that's really the heart of our clubs. That's what makes our clubs the best clubs in my mind, is that we're not only making these great costumes, but we're doing these events and we're helping people out. We're making their day better. We're giving them an escape from the situation if they're in the hospital, or we're making their event, their fundraiser really awesome, and things like that. We've got school events, we do public events. So if there's charities that you're involved with and you want to make it a Star Wars Day, contact us. I'll work with you and I'll see what we can get done. And if you're not in the Huntsville or Alabama area, contact our organizations. We are worldwide. We will try and find people in your area to troop or to be at that event. So kind of just go over the way we already kind of talked about Blast the Trooper and Jail and Bail. Those are our main ways at local events of doing getting money directly. It's a fun event. For those of you that participated in it, again, thank you. You guys, donations are what really help us out. But we love it too. It's fun to kind of sit there and goof off while a kid shoots you and that smile on their face. That's the good thing about having a helmet on, a stormtrooper helmet, is I can see them the whole time. I don't have to worry about blinking or them getting anything out or anything like that. You get to watch them, and you just see the smiling faces of human.
Well, we had there was a man, like an adult yesterday too, and it was kind of later in the afternoon, and he got up and he started shooting, and he was giggling like the entire time, and it was like I just smiled so bad, like I was just like laughing. It was so funny just watching him or hearing him just complete and utter enjoyment for doing that. It was great.
So yeah, and we just love it because we're bringing happiness. We're making Star Wars happy for people, and I get to later next week. I get to go over to Kids to Love, and they get to make one of those big checks. And I get to have a picture and show that, like, hey, we helped them out and everything. And that's what we do this week. Honestly.
Yeah, I think when I first started getting into costuming, I really enjoyed costuming because it's fun. I thought, well, if I'm going to invest this much into something, I want to do something. I want to do something good with it. I want to do something cool. So this was not that kind of avenue. I think this kind of speaks to that. So when you invest so much time and sometimes money, to be able to do it and do good with it, I think that's really what we love.
How much would you say a standard work costume are you looking at about?
$800 to $1,000. For a standard custom. I mean, the helmet's going to be the biggest cost you have. Yeah, I mean, a resin helmet will run you $150, $200. After that, it's soft parts and materials for that.
If you're looking at Star Wars, the 501st, you can do an officer for a couple hundred. You can do some of the flight, TIE Reserve type individuals, kind of flight crew. And then you can do those for a couple hundred also. If you're looking at Darth Vader or something like that, you're looking at thousands of dollars. And then for Rebels,
it just really depends on the costume. Your clone armor is going to be, as much as other kind of armor. But then if you can sew and make things like do soft parts, you can save significant amount of money. My senatorial the hair done or Cinnabon Leia. That white dress, that whole entire costume, shoes, material for the belt and the dress and my hair all cost me about $100. So that's my cheapest thing. The helmet for my biker scout costs a lot more than that. That's the one I'm making for the 501st. It just really depends on your costume and how much you can put into it yourself and what you may need to buy or what you may need to commission from someone else.
And I'm bringing up these prices because not because I want to scare you, like, oh, this is kind of decently expensive. It's to show you that you will be spending money, but you're going to be doing several events. This isn't just like a Halloween costume that you're putting on for a year and then maybe you'll wear it 2 years later or something like that. This is something that you could, in Alabama pre-COVID, maybe even just Huntsville pre-COVID, you could put on once a month at least and everything. We had troops that often and everything. Maybe even every other week we had troops going on. So this isn't one thing that you had to, you're dropping a lot of money and you're using every now and then. This is something that you can use a lot of and things like that. So I just want to kind of let you know that this isn't just an expensive thing yet you're going to use once or twice. You're going to get a lot of use out of it and you're going to have some great times. There's too much. So the first thing I kind of want to, I'm just trying to wrap up here on then questions. I want to let you guys know how do you contact us for events? The easy way is just Google 501st events request, Revolution event request, Mandalorian Works event request. So if you want the actual link, sorry, I can't look there. It's for 501st, it's www.501st.com/request.php. For Rebel Legion, it's rebellegion, all one word, .com/rebel-legion-event-request /. And for Mandalorian Mercs, allword.org/get-involve/request-invasion. So it's easy just to Google event request. The great thing about the way they work is this is worldwide. You just put in the location of the event. You put in, here's the details of the event, and then based on the location that you say, they just organize it to whatever club that region is. So if you're in Huntsville and you send out this request, it's going to come to the Alabama Garrison or the Tranquility Base, or I can never pronounce your guys'
Parliament Bar.
never pronounce that one.
Nobody can.
And stuff like that. And like I said, in Alabama, we typically we play nice. We let everyone know. If it's ambiguous in the request, because I've got a request that says, I want stormtroopers. So I'll contact them back and like, okay, are you saying you just want stormtroopers, or are you okay if we bring droids, if we bring rebels, if we bring mercs? Because sometimes it's just something like, oh, that would be awesome too if you could do that. So like, okay, sweet, I'll let all the groups know. I remember one time they were like, nope, we just want 3 stormtroopers. That's what we want. So, okay, we'll do 3 stormtroopers then. And that's the way it is. If that's what you want for the group, I can't promise you'll get these characters. You can make a request for certain characters. We're all volunteers. I can't promise you numbers. I can't promise you who's going to show up. But I will try to get as many people to show up as I can for events. I can't remember the other. In case you are a business or you own a sports team and you want to request us, those are a little bit different. You can go through those same ways. It's just you're going to get me sending an email to you and to LFL, Lucasfilms there. I'm going to email them and you saying, hey, you need to let them know about this event and this request, because as a business, sports team, or anything that's really going to be highly publicized, they need to know, because Disney spent a couple $2 billion to buy Star Wars. They want to protect it and make sure we're not just going out to every store's opening and being free advertising for galaxy of savings, things like that. There are a few rules being a member that you can't quite do in the capacity of 501st. These are things that people have done. You can't go shoot a commercial with your local car company to get a discount on a car in your stormtrooper outfit or everything like that. Yeah, it has happened. And stuff. So
there's rules because somebody did it.
So that's kind of what I want to go over, the event types that we do, to give you guys information on that. We're going to open up to questions. If there's event questions you have, that's cool. If you have questions about just anything else about our clubs, that's cool too. We'll answer whatever questions people have.
One question, so
There's a mic right there if you want.
I just, speaker. Anyways, I've seen on the 501st website, you guys do have a different tier of memberships, like you don't actually have a costume join. Is like that an actual thing, or it's like you have to have a costume?
Okay, so let me make sure I understand your question correctly. First, you said there's different levels or tiers of a costume, and then you said we don't have to have a costume to officially join. Is that what you said?
Yeah, you don't want just to join, or can you just go ahead and join, see like you're not up to like minutes?
Okay, so one thing is there are different levels on certain costumes. So you might be able to say, here's my Jedi costume, and I have the basics down.
The Rebel Legion doesn't.
I will go with Scout Trooper because I know Scout Troopers. So Scout Trooper, this is what you have to have to be an entry level Scout Trooper. Now, if you get this particular size waistband, if you get this particular thing here, then you can get level 2 and level 3. Now, to have your Scout approved, you have to have the basics. You can do basics and have a level 2 somewhere and then basics up everywhere else and still be approved. But if you want to get level 2 or level 3 scout trooper or lancer, as they call it, because they have fancy names for the highest level, everything has to be to that highest level. And the reason why they do that is because A, it's a little bit more screen accurate, and B, because we like these things called coins, and we make fancy coins for when you are in the elite levels of certain things like that. So someone who's in the Lancer level, Scout Trooper might get a Lancer's coin or catch and things like that. We're all about the coins and everything like that. So that's why that exists. You do not have to do level 3 or level 2 as long as you get that basic. Now, if you feel like I want to do basic level, but I really like this detail that's level 3 that I want on mine, yes, you can have that, but as long as you have all the basics in there, you're good. Now, as for have to have a costume, yes, you do have to have a costume. There are basically 3 things you must have to be a member in our clubs. The first thing is that you have to have a screen accurate costume or accurate by the standards of that costume. The second thing is you have to troop at least one event a year, as long as there isn't something like COVID or something like that. I don't know, what's the chance of that happening and everything. So if you're active duty and you're sent to deploy, we're not going to kick you out because, well, you haven't trooped in 8 years. We're understanding. We know that things happen. You might have surgery and you can't get in your costume for a while. We're not going to sit there and be like, well, this was chance for a year. Typically, though, you basically just need to troop a year. The third one is you need to be 18 years old. If you're not 18, some areas do have Galactic Academy for the 501st. Rebel Legion have one? Okay, so all of them are under Galactic Academy. So they can't troop at all the events with us, but they typically are near us. They're usually family members, friends, things like that.
It's usually like a child of a member. It's what most of the Galactic Academy do.
Yeah, we call it Verdicta Corps. It's, doesn't have to be as accurate or anything because it's for younger children.
Right.
And it's just a way to make the kids feel more involved at conventions, things like that. Kids, you see a little Vader your size as a kid, it's kind of cool and everything. So yes, you do have to have a costume and all be a member. We do have things that people that have known us for a while that we kind of get to know and everything. We do let them become handlers. And what a handler is a handler is an individual who doesn't have a costume but helps out all the people in costume. You guys might not know this, but stormtroopers, mercs, individuals, your line of sight is horrible. Darth Vader cannot see down half the time. And there's nothing sadder than a child standing up to Vader. Vader just ignoring them because they can't hear them, because the fans in their ears, and they can't see them because they're under their line of sight. So we have these amazing people called handlers that let us know when Vader, there's a child in front of you, or when your whole family wants a picture of everyone, the handler can come out and say, hey, I'll take that picture for you so that mom can be in it, or everyone in the family can be in it, or dad doesn't have to stand outside of it.
And if parts of your costume fall off, they can pick it up for you. Yeah, when parts of your costume fall off.
And they're not just there to help us and do everything. They're also learning about things. They get to see us put on the costumes. They can try out. They're going to be members that we might help. We might say like, hey, try my helmet on. If you're looking for helmets, this is the helmet I use. Things like that. Does it fit you all right? You might want to order from this, or you might want to 3D print this file that I use, and things like that. So they're people that we get to know, and also we have these things called armor parties. Hopefully, when the dark days are over, we'll start getting together and we'll start working on costumes again. And people, you may have bought your stormtrooper armor and you just spent $1,000, and now you need to cut it and trim it to fit your body. If you've never worked with ABS or any of these plastics, and now you're gonna start cutting it, you might not have the tools, and you might not know what you're doing. After dropping several hundred to $1,000, you might be scared to death to do this. It's helpful when there's people that have done this several times, are there for you. And they know how to help you make the right cut and adjustment so that, well, you're wearing your armor and you bend your arm, it does not just cut into your arm, making you not feel so good. They also help you make sure you don't have sharp points on your armor, because sharp points on armor tend to catch on your clothes underneath. And you don't want to get a nice flight suit and then all of a sudden you have your armor cut into it, and now you've got this hole or something going on where your flight suit's all cut up because your armor's pinched into it too many times.
Yeah, so if you want to kind of see what it's like and kind of get a feel for the community, becoming a handler is going to be the best way to kind of do that.
Any other questions or things that people want to know?
Anybody have a costume in mind that you're like really done? Try. Okay. Oh, the second sister?
I've seen some amazing second sisters. At Dragon Con, there was one that I think she was stationed, I think she's out in California. She had traveled there for that and just looked amazing. She was probably first time doing that. You know, so there are some amazing ones out there. It's a great costume to do, and if you do it, even if you're not going to do 501st or anything like that, we love Star Wars costumes. So if you make a great costume, please come by. We're not just like member Star Wars things only. One thing I do want to say though, if you are going to look for 501st, if that was your goal, make sure you look at what's called the CRL, the Costume Reference Library. One of the most heartbreaking things I hear from people is that, you know, they make an amazing costume. Like I know what they are, they look great, but they don't have this detail or that detail, what 501st basically demands that for our costumes. And I can tell that they put in so much work into this costume. It's amazing, but it's not going to get into the 501st, and that's just heartbreaking for people. And so I always want people to know, look at whatever club, whatever costume you're looking at, look into that, make sure you know what's going on there, or go on to the attachments or the pages for that costume and post your pictures and ask things about there, because there are people out there that will comb through those chat boards and they will look at your work in progress and they'll say, you're doing awesome in this, or hey, you know what, you're stuck at this is how I did it, or this is the way that, like, or this is where you buy that car and everything. You can't figure out where in the world do you get something like this, or how do you make the helmet do that? How do you make it come off, go back on, and things like that. So there are people that will go out there and help you and be extremely positive. And if you can find local area people, especially that have that costume, they'll get you in touch with us.
And always talk to us before you buy things, if you can. Because shopping on Etsy it may be really cool looking, but it may not be approvable. But we can also, like the detachments and then your local clubs, we can help point you in the direction of things that are approvable if that's what you're going for, and help you save money that way. So we want to help you. We always want more members, so we want to help you get your costume. I think that's Williams, like the Russo Lore. That's
my job is to help people get in, and it's heartbreaking when somebody shows up and they're like, hey, I bought this helmet and, you know, I want to do this, and it's a banned helmet because, you know, it doesn't meet the requirements. It's got stuff on there that, you know, it's just, there's one guy out there who's got like transformer parts on his stuff. He sells on Etsy all the time. You know, and it's like they spent $250, $300 on a helmet. I've got to tell them, you know, we're going to have to cut all of this off and do all of this. And I'd much rather have somebody come up and be like, hey, what about this? And I can tell them yes or no. And, you know, I mean, if you want to play with it, that's fine, you know, but, you know, for an official kit, we can't allow
And another thing that some people learn the hard way is that costume is approved on you. It's not just, this is an approved costume. You put it on, you're good. If you look at us over here, we sold one of our costumes to Jenny. It's not going to get approved because Jenny's slightly smaller than us. That was kind of an issue Jenny had with the Scout at first, was it just, Scout armor was not being made to her size. So you might see someone that is an actual member of one of our clubs, and they're selling their costume because they just can't wear it anymore or anything like that. And it does not mean, you might even know that person when they're a member. It does not mean that you get their costume and you suddenly put it on and you're approved. No, it's not the costume. It's how the costume looks on you.
Yes, and also, it could have been, depending on the costume, it could have been, changes to the standards could have been made after it had been approved by that person. So like the bracers, the arm bracers, the gauntlets, I was wearing, I don't have them on right now, but, that I made out of leather for this Jedi. It was approved. I have them, as long as I have them, it's fine. If I sell them to someone else at some point, they will not be approved on that person because they changed the way that they wanted them to be closed. They don't allow the lace enclosure anymore. And so if I could sell them to you and say that I'm approved in it, but they're not going to be approved on you without some changes to how the closure is made or books at least cover that. So just be very careful about that. Ask. To definitely ask questions. We're here to answer questions we have. The detachments are fantastic. I was really nervous when I started working on my set because like I don't want people to see all the mistakes I'm making when working for but they've been incredibly helpful while working on my first costume for I have several in the Rebel Legion, but this is my first for the 501st, and it has things that I don't know how to do, or I'm not sure I have questions, and I've like taken pictures and like drawn arrows on it and posted it up there, and they'd be like, yes, that's it, or no, yeah, you need to paint that white, or don't do this, or hey, this needs to come up a little bit, and so it's been extremely helpful. The detachment, or the Pathfinder detachment has, especially for me. So those work in progress, like, oh man, they're so helpful. They really are. I was really nervous. I was like, I didn't want feedback, especially like negative feedback, because that's hard to keep. Nobody wants that. But once you get done and you're like, yes, I did it, and all these, and they said it's good. And these are like the detachment leaders that are on there saying, yes, that looks great. Move on. You're good. Move on now. It's just very, very confidence building.
Well, it's 5 minutes too, so thank you guys, everyone, for coming in. Again, kind of the point of this panel, if you guys have any events, if you're working with any charities, if you have any community events that you would like us to attend, please reach out to us. We are always looking for awesome events that we can make even better. And if you're looking into joining our clubs, talk to us, find us on the boards and everything, and introduce yourself, and hopefully we can get you in a costume and get you out there doing some awesome work. Thank you, everyone.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah, the fact that material is horrible. This RCA ordinance, the board right here.
Oh, what? I'm sorry. I'm trying to do this camera.
I'll find it. I'll find it, yeah. Is this a secondary line in? Yeah, it is. So you don't need this RCA going into the main mix at all, do you?
No.
Okay, cool. Oops.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with this. So